Sid Rosenberg here last night to call the Dolphin victory over the Buffalo Bills. On his way to the airport, he wants to come on. It's the great Phil Simms. Well, this was a great surprise.
Good morning, Sid. I had to get a fix before I left town. The guy that's driving me to the airport, he was listening to you. And then my wife is sitting next to me, and she goes, oh, you should call, Sid. So I can't take all the credit.
Wow.
My wife, give her a lot of credit, too.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Simms.
She says, thank you, Diana. She's smiling right now, so that's great.
Sid Rosenberg, mornings only on 640 Sports.
You got a bunch of defensive guys that have talent. They're not playing well. As a head coach, guys, you're not going to really impact too much coming in week 5. You're going to have to take what is already there. And the fact that he was with Bill Parcells and Sean Payton, that's nice. Hey, I played for Don Shula, Dick Vermeil, Marty Schottenheimer, and Chuck Knox.
And
Chuck Knox.
That's why you're there.
Well, but that doesn't make me a great coach. I was
those
around
men had an influence on you.
I agree. I agree. There's a positive. That's not a guarantee because you're around those people. You're going to step in and be a head coach. There's not anyone on that staff right now that has any head coaching experience. So that's the problem you have.
Well, the problem maybe is that there were people who thought that this was a move that this team should have made after last season. And they extended Joe Philbin's contract 1 year, which he still has the 1 year remaining, brought him back, and it did not go the way that this team hoped. And it has gotten to the point now where you're beginning to see the quarterback regress some and not play the way that they expected.
And you're absolutely right. The quarterback is regressing. I went through the tape read this morning on the All-22, and this is not the guy that I projected, that would be an outstanding quarterback this season. It's not happening. So Bill Lazor, now the offense coordinator, he's going to be on the gun. He's a talented guy, but when your quarterback doesn't perform and you gave him a big contract, your butt's on the line.
Waves of love, my heart is breaking, and stranger still my self-control I can't rely on anymore. New tides surprise my world, it's changing. Within this frame an ocean swells behind a smile, I know it well. Beneath the lover's moon I'm waiting. I built this ship, it is my making, and furthermore my self-control I can't rely on anymore. I know why. I know why. Crazy on a ship of fools.
Crazy like a ship of fools. Robert Plant. It's Ron Jaworski, Adam Schefter, and all the geniuses at ESPN after the Dolphins fired Joe Philbin and announced that tight ends coach, former Giant Dan Campbell, is now the interim head coach of your 1-3 Miami football Dolphins. We talked Dolphin football with one guy only because last time Salguero was on, he was a dick, quite frankly. And I know Larry Leon loves him, but he ain't no radio host. And that's why we talked to Andrew Abramson of the Palm Beach Post. Hello, Andrew. How are you, pal?
Well, back from London. What a hell of a day to be flying back. They fired a head coach, but can't say I'm the least bit surprised. That was a move that had to be made.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm surprised about is you're coming back from London after the Dolphins put on another porous effort in the loss against the Jets, and I think we all knew that Ross had to make the move, and they make the move, and you're on a transatlantic flight from London to Miami. They got no damn Wi-Fi. You can't even write about the upping story.
I know, and there was a bunch of us on that flight. Jeff Darlington from NFL Network, a bunch of former players, VIPs, fans. We're all just talking about it. We're like, yeah, what's going on the ground? I had a very good feeling that when we landed there would be a new coach in Miami. But, man, you'd think nowadays they could have some Wi-Fi. If we can put a man on the moon 50 years ago,
right,
we could have Wi-Fi on a transatlantic flight.
Well, you can get it, but you got to pay for it. The Palm Beach Post didn't want to pay for it?
Oh, no. Virgin did not have it all. I would have paid $1,000 for that. Oh, hell yeah.
They didn't have it at all?
Wi-Fi.
Richard Branson on his planes, no Wi-Fi?
No Wi-Fi.
Terrible.
Richard Branson's planes. Amazing.
That is amazing. I mean, you can get movies and everything. I flew to London last April because Danielle ran the marathon, and it was a lovely flight. We had movies and food, but no Wi-Fi.
I watched some great movies yesterday. Had a couple Bloody Marys, but didn't know what was going on down here.
Well, listen, let me start with this. Your colleague Armando, I was just talking about him. He says that absentee owner Stephen Ross is at the root of the Dolphins' problem. And he made that point, Andrew, because he thought it was kind of Bush League that Ross fired Joe Philbin over the phone. And the fact is, Ross is really still a New York guy and is not here every single day. And he doesn't like the fact he's an absentee owner. Me, I don't care. Again, I think Ross takes a lot of abuse here. I'm not sure why. The team sucks. I get it. And all of his loyalties and hirings haven't been great. But as an owner, in terms of spending money and caring about the team, why does Ross continue to take such a beating down here?
No, I agree. I mean, look, I think the whole thing he's in New York, that is overrated because he's never going to be a football genius.
Right.
He needs to, what he needs to do.
And by the way, Andrew, the same guys that are bitching about how he's an absentee owner would be the same guys all over him if he was Jerry Jones and all over the team.
Right. No, I mean, I think, what he needs to do and what he's tried to do repeatedly is put the right person in charge to run the team for him. Right now, that's Mike Tannenbaum, and it hasn't been clear. It's extremely clear right now that it's Mike Tannenbaum's team. And yesterday proved my point because you remember that Ross is supposed to have the complete power to hire and fire the head coach. That's supposed to be his responsibility. Mike Tannenbaum technically answers to Ross, as does the head coach. But when you look what happened yesterday, look, that was a Mike Tannenbaum move all the way. I mean, Ross pretty much admitted he doesn't even know Dan Campbell.
Right.
They briefly had a phone chat yesterday. Stephen Ross watched the press conference streaming on Dolphins.com like everybody else. I mean, he doesn't know Dan Campbell. That was Mike Tannenbaum.
Right.
Mike Tannenbaum was the guy at the podium. So, look, now it's Mike Tannenbaum's team. That's the guy that Stephen Ross has said, you run my team. So, to me, now it's on Tannenbaum.
Now, what is Hickey's job at this point?
I mean, he's basically a assistant GM, glorified head scout. This is Mikey works for Mike Tannenbaum. He's a player personnel guy. Mike Tannenbaum, I know he's into analytics and all that, but I mean, he's not a former player. I don't think he's a guy. He needs somebody. He needs a good personnel guy, and that's Dennis Hickey's role right now. But I'll tell you about those guys too. Obviously, Tannenbaum just got here. He's going to be around for at least a couple of years, but he's got to be. He's the one that wanted to sign Ndamukong Suh. He's going to have a huge cap hit next year. You got to see how that works out. So far, they're not even playing their first and second round picks barely, Devontae Parker and Jordan Phillips. To me, the Jordan Phillips pick, a little bit of a question mark. You could have brought in some guys that would help you now, like a guard or a cornerback. It's going to be really interesting to see how this whole thing shakes out, not just this year, but going into next season as well.
I agree with you, and we'll see if Mike, in fact, now in his second year, really. I know he got the promotion this year, but he was here last year as well.
Right.
Can steer this team in the right direction. And you brought up Suh. Now, you heard that little piece there where Schefter talks about Ryan Tannehill regressing. Ron Jaworski agrees. Jaworski thought before the season that Tannehill had the chance to escalate to one of the better quarterbacks in football. He's been wrong, obviously. So Jaworski talked about the quarterback today. There were others on ESPN saying yesterday that the reason why the Dolphins are not very good has little to do with Joe Philbin and personnel because they gave Suh too much money. So who is the bigger issue right now? They're both getting paid very handsomely. Tannehill on offense or Suh on defense?
Well, I mean, Suh financially isn't hurting the team now. He's going to hurt them later on. This year, he's only about a $5 million cap hit for the team. When you look at this roster, at the moment, it has nothing to do with Suh's money. Now, the question is why do the Dolphins have one sack on the entire season by a rookie when no team in the NFL besides them has less than 5 sacks? And Ndamukong Suh, yes, he's getting double teamed, but come on. I mean, you're paying a guy $114 million.
But forget about him. Forget about him because he's also the king of quarterback pressures. He's supposed to really demand the double team. That's what he's been doing. So I'm not going to hold Suh accountable for that. Where is Cameron Wake? Where is Olivier Vernon? Where are the other guys that are supposed to feast off the Suh double team?
True. And I think we're starting to see Cam Wake regress. I know he's had some injury issues. Look, this has been an incredible player, great story over the years. But I think he's either 33 or 34 now. At some point, the guy's going to regress. I think we're starting to see that with Wake. Olivier Vernon had one good season 2 years ago. And look, this is a contract year for him. I mean, if he can't step up this year, forget about it. It might be a very average defensive line aside from Ndamukong Suh. And if Ndamukong Suh's getting doubled and he can't get past that, then, you're and these other guys can't make plays. It could be a longer season than we thought. We thought this was going to be a dominant defensive line, but, it doesn't look like that at the moment. Now, going back to Tannehill, one thing I think, the play calling has been awful this year. I'm not going to put it all on the play calling. Ryan Tannehill has to make plays. He still locks in on receivers, but you can't win in this league when you pass the ball over 70% of the time, and the defenses know what you're going to do. It's so predictable Dolphins offense. Why they're not running the ball. I know they don't have good run blocking. The offensive line has problems. But you got to give these running backs time to get into rhythm. I mean, they need a fullback. They're the one that can block. They need to run the ball.
Well, listen, I agree. Now, look, the last 2 weeks they've fallen behind Buffalo and the Jets pretty quickly, but not to the point where they should abandon the running game. But let me give you this. I know Lamar Miller had 1,000 yards last year, and he has been okay. Lamar Miller is certainly not a very good back. Behind him, they drafted the kid out of Boise State. He can't play. These other guys are okay. I mean, let's just come to the realization. The Dolphins don't have very good running backs, and wide receiver, Greg Jennings, I don't know, the kid Devontae Parker got in last week, got a penalty on offense. So really outside of Jarvis Landry, I'm not sure what's going on there. And Charles Clay makes 1,000 plays a week, but he's on the Buffalo Bills. Maybe they're not that good.
All right, I'll tell you this about the running back situation. I know that there were people in the organization that second round that wanted them to take Abdullah, who's now with Detroit. That talking about a guy that could have been an impact player right away. Instead they went with Jordan Phillips, a rookie they're barely even playing. You're right. I mean, Devontae Parker, he still has to prove himself a lot. Kenny Stills, they traded a third-round pick to get him. We have to see more from Kenny Stills. There's a lot of guys just not making plays right now, but that also goes back to what I was saying before, that it's not all on the coaching. It's on management as well. A lot of those guys are guys they just brought in this year. So maybe it's not a talented roster, but I'll tell you this. There is enough talent on that roster that they should not be 1-3.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been outscored 101-65 this year. That's a team that looked as lifeless as their former head coach. No fight in them whatsoever. Now you bring in Dan Campbell. I'll tell you what, the way he's talking, this is really interesting to me. He's talking about, they almost egging them on to get in skirmishes at practice. It almost reminds me, Stephen Ross tried so hard 2 years ago to change the culture, after Bullygate, to make it this nice, respectful locker room. And I think maybe they need a little Richie Incognito back in them. Maybe back to how
No, they don't. No, they don't. They need to play hard and play well. And it doesn't have to be one extreme or the other. It doesn't have to be the bullying, and it doesn't have to be the nice guys. I mean, I've seen Tom Coughlin's practices, and those guys just work hard for that guy every single week. And look, in the end, Dan Campbell comes out yesterday and says, I have all the respect for Joe Philbin, but here comes the big but, Andrew. But the culture needs to change. This is the most talent we've had in 6 years, because I've heard a lot of folks that are covering the Dolphins around the league say this is a personnel issue. It's not about Joe Philbin. Well, Dan Campbell said, no, we got a pretty good football team here. So what is it? What is the real problem with the Dolphins?
I think it's a mixture of both. Maybe the players aren't as good as we thought, but like I said, I mean, for them to just lay an egg this year, to get outscored like they've been, I'm around that team, and I'm around them after games, and I've seen them during games, and I'm telling you, they did not have fight in them. And it's kind of amazing when you think about it that you need a coach in the NFL, professional players, to fire up your team. But I think you do. I know, going back to last year, I remember guys talking about Joe Philbin, and they were telling me they wish he had more fight, that he inspired them more.
Yeah.
They were talking about after the San Diego game, where Joe Philbin missed the week of practice for that Chargers game after his father passed away. He came back, gave a very inspiring speech. Players, by the way, won that game 37-0. I'm not going to say it's because of a Joe Philbin speech,
right?
But they told me later on that they wish they saw more of that from their coach more often. I think they were ready to move on from Joe Philbin.
Yeah, I think so, too. And Tannenbaum has told Dan Campbell he can retain or even fire both coordinators, Bill Lazor on offense and Kevin Coyle on defense. Now, I've been reading an awful lot, Andrew, that to a man, the players on the defense don't like Kevin. They don't like him. Sue doesn't like him. Sue wore like tennis sneakers to practice one day this week as a big F-U to his defensive coordinator. They don't like that two-gap defense. And there's a bunch of guys now publicly ripping Kevin Coyle. Is that overstated, or is that the issue?
No, I think they might be ready to move on from Coyle just like they were from Philbin. And then the question becomes once again, who do you promote? Mark Duffner, their linebackers coach, he was defensive coordinator of Bengals. He was head coach of Maryland in the 90s. He's a possibility. I think there's a good chance Coyle is gone today. I think Bill Lazor stays for the rest of the year. I just think, this is the guy, he was really considered an up-and-comer head coach material. He's got that aura of a head coach when you're around him. But, the play calling has just been pretty atrocious this year.
Yeah.
And Bill Lazor is a guy that knows how to run the ball. He was offensive coordinator at the University of Virginia, where pretty much all they did was run the ball.
Right.
That Chip Kelly stuff, with that Bill Lazor's been trying to do, everyone has a shotgun. I just don't think it's working as much in the NFL. Defenses have figured it out. let's see if he can adjust. I mean, if they don't think he can adjust, then maybe you got to move on from Laser now too. But I think Laser gets.
I think he stays too. But getting back to Coyle for a second, you're saying, Andrew Abramson, that you think he'll be let go today. I agree with you. Is it more of a defense that's not getting it done, or is it in fact a personality clash where the players on that defense don't like him?
I think it's both. I think the players don't like him because they don't think his schemes work. And and Coyle's an interesting guy to me because I've talked to so many guys over the league the last couple of years, and just talk about differing opinions. Some of them think Kevin Coyle is this great defensive coach. Some of them think he's awful. I've just never seen a guy with so many differing opinions around the league. But look, he's had 3+ years with the Dolphins now. He came in with Philbin, and the defense is getting worse and worse since he's been here. I think it was like 8th in the league when he got here.
Yeah.
It keeps dropping. Last year, these defensive struggles didn't just start last year. It goes back to last season, those last 6 games last year, when they gave up an average of 32 points per game.
Right.
I asked him about that last week, and he's like, well, last year was last year, this year is this year. But no, I don't agree with that. To me, it's a 10-game slide
I
on
agree.
defense. I think we've seen enough.
I agree. It was actually the defense that let the Dolphins down last December rather than the offense. So on the way out, though, getting back to conflicts and personalities on the team, now there's another story. Again, all this happening in and around Joe Philbin, which didn't make it good for Joe. Now I guess the quarterback is fighting with the practice squad players?
Yeah, I mean, that to me is a little bit of an overblown story. I mean, they're talking about wanting some fire in practice from the players. So, it seems a little out of character for Ryan Tannehill from me. Maybe there was something that went on in practice. Maybe he got pissed. Someone supposedly intercepted
Well,
him.
so supposedly, this is unbelievable on a pro team, and this is another reason why you got to be happy Philbin's gone, and you can confirm and or deny this, Andrew. Supposedly, the coaching staff went to the practice squad players and told them to stop picking off Ryan Tannehill in practice because it's embarrassing.
Well, no. I don't think it's because it's embarrassing. I think it's because it's a walkthrough practice. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to be kind of, you don't usually see defensive players going after their quarterback in a walkthrough on a Saturday. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something there. It seems a little out of character for Ryan Tannehill. I'm sure something did happen. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Maybe they need a little more of that in practice. But, it's gotten ugly. I'm sure if you're Tannenbaum and Ross, you hope that this bringing in Dan Campbell, just kind of clean slate. Let's see what this guy does. New voice, new attitude. I'm sure that's what they're hoping. It's still 12 games left in the season.
No, but they're done. Let's be honest. The Bills are ahead of them at 2-2, and the Bills crushed them. The Jets are 3-1, and the Jets crushed them, and the Patriots may go undefeated. So they're done. But I tell you what, they may have saved themselves because if they continue this season with Philbin and it's a disaster, then by the end of the year they've lost whatever fan base they've got left. At least now they threw the bloodthirsty fans the blood they wanted. I really believe the rest of the year is what it is. If Dan Campbell doesn't win, well, he's not supposed to. He's never coached before, and it's a bad team. If Dan Campbell wins, that's icing on the cake for next year. I think by firing Joe Philbin yesterday, even with 12 games to go, I think the pressure's off.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And, they'd have to probably go 9-3 to make the playoffs down the stretch. They're not doing that. I mean, they have after these next, they have a 3-game road trip coming up in a few weeks. Patriots, Bills, Eagles. I mean,
3 losses.
Three road games in a row. No, but, the thing is that Dan Campbell can, like you said, there's no pressure. If he loses, he loses. You bring in a new coach next year. Tannenbaum runs the coaching search. You think of this year, I mean, they could have had Dan Cross, who had a lot of ties with Mike Tannenbaum. He's 4-0 in Atlanta. I was a little surprised they brought Philbin back. But I do think if they can finish the season with 7 or 8 wins after how they started, then, maybe Dan Campbell comes back next year. But you're right. I mean, the pressure's kind of off them right now. I think the fans are just thrilled they got rid of Philbin.
Right.
So
they win.
There's no orange seats at the stadium. Now it's going to be empty aqua seats.
That's right.
And those look a little bit better to the eye.
Yeah, the Dolphins actually won this week without playing. They actually won because the fans are happy. So on the way out here, then, any names surfacing? I couldn't believe I heard the name of Mike Sherman pop up this week more than once. The former offensive coordinator fired by the Dolphins, and now the Dolphins want him back. I mean, A, is that true? What are some other names we may hear in this coaching search?
I mean, that's ridiculous. They're not bringing Mike Sherman back. Come on, that guy's coaching high school football right now up in Massachusetts.
Right.
I mean, I'm not at this point. I'm not really there yet. I'm not thinking about next year's search. I know some people do. I think it's way too premature. I mean, obviously there's guys like Gruden out there. I think that.
The John Gruden, Mike Shanahan, blah blah.
I mean, you have all those washed up guys. What you have, the real thing to look at is who Mike Tannenbaum has ties to. Like last year, Stan Cross. You know who I thought, but now I don't think San Francisco's defense is doing well. I thought from the beginning of the year this would be Philbin's last year, and Eric Mangini, Tenenbaum's BFF in New York, who's now the defensive coordinator of the Niners, he could be a guy he could bring in. So I think that's the key, to look at who Mike has ties to, who are hot coordinators. I'm not there yet. I mean, I want to, let's see how Dan Campbell. I'm focused on the Dolphins right now, but there's a good chance. I mean, look, unless Campbell can, like I said, can get to that 7-8 wins, then you probably are talking about another coaching search, in a few months.
That's a kick-ass job, Andrew. That's why we bring you on. You're great. You broke the whole thing down for us very, very well. I recommend all the Dolphin fans out there read Andrew Abramson's work every single day in the Palm Beach Post. Great stuff, Andrew. Thank you, pal.
Thanks a lot, sis.
All right, take care. Andrew Abramson, Palm Beach Post. We'll shift gears. The Yankees will host the Astros in a one-game take-all playoff game in the Bronx tonight for the right to move on and start Thursday in Kansas City against the Royals in a best-of-5 ALDS. We'll talk to Mark Feinsand, New York Daily News, next.
640's own Sid Rosenberg show is on the air.
640 Sports.
The Astros, almost naivete plays here. They're so young. They're going to a Yankee Stadium that's a new Yankee Stadium. It's not the old one, and they get Dallas Keuchel, who could win the Cy Young on the mound. It feels like they got a lot of the momentum going into this thing, plus the fact that Keuchel hasn't given up a run in a couple of starts against the Yankees this summer. So as we look to the fall here, they have the advantage?
I think they do with Keuchel, because 16 innings, no runs, 1 walk, 21 strikeouts. But he is pitching on short rest, which he's never done before. We never know about guys on short rest, how they do. Plus, Masahiro Tanaka has had a pretty good year for a guy who's been up and down. Still has a whip of 0.99. The league's hitting 221 against him, which suggests when he's right, he's a hard guy to hit. And if he's right, then it shifts to the Yankee.
We skip the light fandango, turns cartwheels across the floor. I was feeling kind of seasick. The crowd called out for more. The room was humming harder as the ceiling flew away. When we call out for another drink, the waiter brought a tray, and so it was that later, as the miller told his tale, that her face at first just ghostly turned the wider shade of pale.
Tim Kurkjian and all the guys from ESPN. Winner takes all, baby. This is it. Big game in the Bronx tonight. The Astros, the wild card out of the AL West, who let the division slip away to Texas, and the Yanks. Tanaka on the mound for the Yankees. Keuchel, he's killed Houston. He killed the Yankees, I should say, for Houston on the mound for the Astros for the right to start the 5-game ALDS in Kansas City, the reigning American League champs, coming up on Thursday. My next guest, of course, covers the Yankees like nobody else does in New York, does the best job for the New York Daily News, and joins us twice a week, ready for playoff baseball in the Bronx. My man, Mark Feinsand. Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
I'm good, Sid. How you doing, pal?
Good. I had John Montone on earlier, the great John Montone, 10-10 wins. Of course, you know who John Montone is, don't you?
Of course.
And
no one says their name quite like John Montone.
Nobody does. And for 2 stories, the sad story about the Long Island lady that was found dead in Chelsea, but about the Yanks, too. Now, look, I do preface this by saying, like me, Montone is on record as a diehard New York Met fan, but I asked him the same question I've been asking you all season long about, who's getting more pub right now. He said it's not even close. It's the Mets. I asked him about the energy level in town tonight for the Yanks, and he wasn't all that impressed. So you tell me, what is the energy level in town tonight for the Yankees hosting a playoff game?
It's the same as it's been all year.
Jesus effing Christ! What's going on?
I think Yankee fans are taking a very, very pessimistic approach to this game tonight.
Not even cautiously optimistic, right? The pessimistic?
I think Dallas Keuchel has them all just quaking in their boots, basically, after the season he's had, after the 2 games he pitched against the Yankees. Obviously the talk in town for the last, 20 hours or so has been CC Sabathia, not the playoff game. So that's put a little wrinkle in this whole storyline as well. But I think people are just terrified of Keuchel. I mean, the guy was, his 50-50 chance to win the Cy Young this year.
Yeah.
Him and Price basically had the same exact season. So that's going to be an interesting vote. But, even all this talk about how 15-0 with a 1.5 ERA at home, but he struggled on the road. The guy's on a 3.7 on the road and shoved it on the Yankees back on August 25th in New York. So I think
and by the way, couple that with the fact that the Yankees really struggle against left-handers.
Right now they struggle against everybody.
Right,
I mean, they're not hitting it all right now, righties or lefties, but especially lefties. So I think right now the common trend among Yankee fans is they think this is going to be a one-game postseason.
I think that's going to be the case. I hate to say it. But before we get back to the actual game tonight, you mentioned CC Sabathia. As a recovering addict myself, I tend to be very, very sympathetic towards these guys. And, I right away I sent the tweet out right away congratulating CC Sabathia on his courage. And it was met by a bunch of dickbag asshole Yankee fans, of course, that, oh, wow, now the playoffs, he waits all year. He may be drinking now, but he caused me to drink all season long. And why did he do this now? And I mean, I can't believe people are so awful. I mean, listen, it doesn't matter whether it's the playoffs or the World Series. This guy obviously has come to a point in his life where the crisis has become so unmanageable that if you're a Yankee fan and you're not encouraging and applauding CC Sabathia right now, you're a dick.
If you're a human and you're not applauding CC Sabathia right now, you are. I mean,
you can't say you're a dick because the Daily News will get mad at you, right?
That's correct. Twitter is a horrible place. It's a magnificent invention and the concept of it, but it brings out the absolute worst in humanity at times. And yesterday as I was tweeting stuff from the press conferences and stuff, I got the same thing. I got for $20 million you could do your job and blah blah blah. Go to hell. I mean, it's just it's very the people who were critical of CC yesterday either don't have hearts or just or brains, one of the two.
I get the same thing all the time too. I mean, I'll tell you. I mentioned this earlier. Well, when somebody disagrees with me on something, Sandy, whether it's politics or even baseball and football, I mean, you talk about the most inane, banal stuff. They'll go right to, go ahead, Sid, have another drink. I mean, come on, man, really?
Yeah, and look, I think every single person in that clubhouse yesterday, on the record, off the record, whatever it was, every single one of them just talked about how they just want CC to get better and to be okay, and these guys really care about him, and he's probably if not the most respected person in that clubhouse, he's top 2. So I think when you look at the situation, the timing is strange just because you don't have this happen on the day before the playoffs. Here's the thing to me: CC could have very easily covered this up. He could have said, my knee's barking at me again, I can't pitch. I have to go see a specialist. I need to take care of something personal. The Yankees would have announced something that said, CC's been excused for personal reasons to handle something, and if they lose the wild card game, the season's over, and nobody hears from CC until spring training, and he could have just kept this covered up. So the fact that he wanted to approach this publicly, he wanted it out there, he wanted to face his demons, and he wanted to, I respect him. I respect the courage it took to do it. I respect the courage it took to do it at this time, knowing the heat that was going to be put on him, by some people. And you know what? I think it's really I think it's a great thing that he recognized his problem, went to Joe Girardi, went to Brian Cashman and said, I need help. And Girardi said the second CC walked in and said, I need help, and told me what was going on, I was no longer his manager. I was somebody who just wanted him to get well.
Yeah, you make a great point, too. He could have just covered up with some type of injury. The Yankees would have played along for sure. And
he's got the knee injury. I mean, the knee is there. It was easy.
Right. Now, we've seen a couple of things happen. Obviously, the little deal at the airport. A couple of about last month in Toronto, we had some issues. So we've seen a couple of things happen along the way, but certainly nothing on a regular basis and nothing big enough where we could have thought this was coming. But then again, when you look back at some of those other things, you go, aha, right? A little bit?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, in hindsight, you say, oh, maybe that was why that happened. Maybe that was why that happened. I mean, look, the thing in Toronto, he was out at a club, and some guy started getting into it with him. He was out of the club. Could he have been drinking? I'm sure he was.
Well, now that he's going to rehab, he was probably drinking.
Of course.
He may have been 5 or 6 in.
Do we know that that's why this thing happened? We have no idea. None of us were there. I mean, it's easy to point back in hindsight and say, oh, well, that's why this and this and this happened. But it's bottom line is he's getting help, and hopefully he'll take care of his problem and move forward. This guy's 35 years old. I know everybody loves to talk about these old baseball players. 35 years old. I mean, he's got his, more than half of his life ahead of him, and he's married. He's got 4 children and 4 young kids, and forget the impact on the Yankees. This is a good person that I've gotten to know for the past 6 years, and I just hope that he gets himself well.
Amen. So the pressure tonight is on Tanaka because you got to figure the Yankees. How many runs will the Yankees need tonight to win the game?
3 maybe. At the minimum,
they're not getting 3 off. They're not getting 3 off Keuchel. So
well,
season's
look,
over.
You know what? It's easy to say that. Keuchel went into a huge game in Texas a few weeks ago and gave up 6 in the first inning.
Yes, he did.
This is a guy. He's never pitched on a short rest. He's never pitched a game this big, and you could argue that Texas game was the biggest game he's ever pitched.
Let me take you back to. I hate doing this because it's so lame. It has nothing to do with this year or the players because they're all gone. But let me take you back to Game 6 in the Bronx, when Jack McKean made a move that was just peppered in the press for starting a young Josh Beckett with no World Series experience on 3 days rest. And amazingly, he outpitched Andy Pettitte in a 1-0 Marlin victory that resulted in the Marlins winning the World Series.
Of course. Look, I'm not saying Keuchel can't pitch on short rest, but I'm just saying you just don't know how a guy's going to react to his first playoff game or his first short rest game or whatever else. I mean, Felix Hernandez is one of the best pitchers in the world. I saw him give up 8 runs 3 times this year. Weird things happen. Look, the Yankees are hitting, like my son's Little League team right now.
Right.
So, I'm not. If you had to ask me right now, bet on this game, I'm going to take Houston. Okay.
Right.
But I'm just saying that what's John Sterling? You can't predict baseball. It's one game. Weird things can happen in one game. Somebody can make an error that costs them 2 runs. Anything can happen. So, do I like the Yankees' chances tonight? No, I put them at about 40%. But, they do have Tanaka on the mound. Tanaka could go out there and match Keuchel. And I will say this. If this game gets to a battle of bullpens, I'll take the Yankees.
No, the Yankees are going to win, no question. I'll tell you what, though, that does put a lot of pressure on that first run because, again, Keuchel has had great success against the Yankees. He's probably the best lefty in the American League. He'll win the Cy Young. Tanaka's still a very, very fine pitcher. So the team that scores first tonight, that 1 run, they got to feel really good about themselves, even if it's the Yanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Tanaka had a terrible start his last time out, but he hadn't pitched in 12 days, barely thrown because of the hamstring. I think he's going to pitch a good game tonight. He's a big game guy. I know he hasn't pitched playoff games here, but, he led his team to the championship in Japan, pitched a 160-pitch game 7, for his team in Japan. So this guy knows about pressure. This is why he came here, and I think he's going to come up with a good game tonight. The question will be, can the Yankees scratch out runs against Keuchel? I'm interested to see what kind of lineup Girardi puts out there because.
What do you think? If you had to predict it right now, what are you thinking?
I think Refsnyder plays second base, because he's the right-handed hitter. I think Chris Young is out there.
Yep.
Probably in left field for Gardner is my guess. And only because I looked at the numbers yesterday. Gardner actually hits lefties better overall than Ellsbury, but Ellsbury's 2 for 7 with a walk against Keuchel, and Gardner's 0 for 4. And even though it's a small sample size, it's a specific sample size that I think Girardi might play. So I think you'll see Young in the lineup, Ellsbury and Beltran, and then Bird, Refsnyder, Gregorius, Headley, McCann. I think McCann didn't play either game against him, but I don't know how you take Brian McCann out with John Ryan Murphy in there. You can't do that. And then Alex will be the DH.
I'll ask you this. I'll kind of put the cart before the horse. I'm going to assume a Yankee win. Oh, the Yankees win. The Yankees win tonight. Now they are in the DS series just like the Mets. They'll play Kansas City starting Thursday. The Mets start Friday against the Dodgers. Now it's not one and done. Now they moved on. They're in a legitimate playoff series. At that point, does the Yankee fan start to get excited? Does New York start to even out between the excitement between the Mets and the Yankees?
I don't know if it evens out because I think the Mets, as long as the Mets are playing, they're still going to be the more pumped up, the more excitable team for the city, just because, again, they haven't been there in 9 years. So I just think that's natural.
Plus Met fans, for the most part, are younger, drunker, rowdier. They're Jet fans. They're the ones that'll pee on you during a football game, right?
Correct. That said, I think if the Yankees get to Kansas City on Thursday, the level of excitement amongst their fan base will be significantly higher than it is right now.
Yeah, and then we can go back, right, find sand and relive the Chris Chambliss home run off Mark Littell. Sit there, George Brett with the pine tar against Goose Gossage. Talk about Freddie Patek sitting in the dugout by himself crying. I mean, all those great Yankees. I mean, who would have thunk it? But people don't remember. You talk Yankees, Red Sox, late 1970s, Yankees, Royals was hot.
Oh, yeah, no question. And I'm sure that if the Yankees win tonight, when you pick up Thursday's Daily News, I'm sure there will be plenty on those historic games and the Yankees-Royals history. But like you said, they got to get past Keuchel first.
Right. And the Mets and Dodgers, pretty good history, too, going back to 88 when Hershiser completely shut them down. Well, I think it'll be fun tonight. I mean, I think it may not be all week long and all day long, but certainly when you get off that 4 train tonight in the Bronx, I would imagine there'll be a lot of energy in that ballpark.
I would think so. It's supposed to be a beautiful night, and they're saying it's not sold out yet, which who knows if that's true or not. But that's more of that to me is more of a sign of the price of the tickets than it is the excitement of the fans, because
how much are the damn tickets?
It depends on where you're talking, but they go as high as $1,000 a piece. So upper deck seats, I think, are $40-$50. So I'm not sure about. I don't know. MLB actually prices them for the playoffs, so I'm not sure what the lows and highs are. But it's whether it's actually sold out or not, there will be a lot of people there. It should be a good atmosphere, and put it this way: the Yankees they have a much higher chance of winning this game at home than they would have facing Keuchel in Houston. That's for sure.
So on the way out, I know FAN, after 20-plus years of the Mets, has the Yankees now for 2 years, and their afternoon show leading up to game time, of course, is Francesa. No bigger Yankee fan in New York than Mike Francesa. So I'd imagine the Pope will be live at Yankee Stadium today. Yes.
I don't know. I heard yesterday as I was getting out of my car that Beningo and Roberts are doing a show live at 6:30 there. So maybe Mike will be on before that live, or I'm not sure. But remember, Mike also is no longer on Yes, so that may play into it as well. Well, yeah, I would imagine Michael Kay does his show. Although you know what, there's sort of a cross thing because Michael Kay can't do his show live from Yankee Stadium because FAN owns the Yankees rights. So
that's right.
I don't know if Yes would block that from. Who knows? It's all so weird.
Who will you sitting? I would imagine that Donald Trump will be there tonight. Regis Philbin will be there tonight. Who will you be sitting next to?
I'll be sitting next to John Harper, most likely.
He's a great writer.
John Harper is fantastic. One of the best.
I read his work this morning, actually. Well, listen, have a great time.
Starting tomorrow, he'll be covering your Metsies, so you can read him all going forward here.
Beautiful. Seriously, I really hope they win because, first of all, I want you to keep coming on because you're great, and it'll be fun to have the Mets and Yankees both playing. So good luck tonight. Enjoy yourself, and I love you.
You like your Mets this week?
No. I'm sorry. I think losing the home field is a disaster, and I know that Kershaw has sucked prior in the playoffs. That's got to stop at some point. He's just too good. And the odds of beating Kershaw and Greinke with DeGrom and Syndergaard, and the fact that Harvey's going to pitch Game 3 at home, I think I may have gone with Harvey in 2 and 5, but I just think that losing the home field is a killer for the Mets.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I love you. Have fun tonight.
All right, pal.
Uterman, Mark Feinsand, Yankees and Stros from the Bronx tonight. We'll take a short break. Final thoughts. Let me go to GT Mike first. Michael, good morning, pal. How are you?
What's up, Sid? The one thing that I will say as a fan, when I first came down and I saw the message about CC, I was like, ooh, what timing. And then the next thing I thought about was compassion and understanding that, you know what, with a person on the stage like he has and what he could have done, he could have just, like you guys talked about, kept it quiet, made up some excuse. I think he has a lot of courage to be able to do something like that. I listened to a lot of people like yourself, my dad that was a recovering alcoholic, and all kinds of people. The courage to be able to do that and take the first step to say something like that, is more than anything. And, the most important thing is I think when fans are coming out and they're pissed off, if the team is supporting him, that's the only thing I can think about. And you know what? They love CC. That locker room loves him. And hopefully, whatever it is, it's going to take care of whatever. But the courage for someone to come out to do that, man, is awesome, man. So I'll go with that, and hopefully we get a win, and we'll do what we can. Have a great day.
Well said, Mike. Well said. GT Mike. Nailed that one. You're exactly right. We'll come back at 844-640-6464. 844-640-6464. Final thoughts. You're all of you out there are invited to hop on in. Yankees and Stros tonight. Cubs and Pirates tomorrow. The big series coming up the weekend. The Joe Philbin firing. The Dan Campbell hiring. The fact that the people in Roseburg, Oregon want no part of Barack Obama. They don't want the president in their town after the massacre that took place last week. You've got all these stories and more. Final thoughts right after this. What about these jerk-offs, these real mother effers in Hollywood who have come out and looking for any reason to nitpick the movie? You guys put your lives on the line 2, 3, 4 times, and you hear that, does it make you sick?
Sid, if I had to put together a direct action squad and I needed a breacher that'd bring the hammer, I'd bring you along.
Sid Rosenberg, mornings only on 640 Sports.
See the curtains hanging in the window in the evening on a Friday night. Little light is shining through the window, lets me know everything's alright. Summer breeze makes me feel fine, blowing through the jasmine in my mind. Summer breeze makes me feel fine, blowing through the jasmine in my mind.
Dr. Oz is talking about America's heroin epidemic. Actually, Danielle sent me a story today that the NHL, the Panthers, of course, set to start the season this Saturday night, hosting the Philadelphia Flyers at the, what is it, the BAC? What's it called now?
BB&T Center.
No, it's not.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, of the Panthers?
Yeah, the BB&T.
BB&T, okay.
The BAC is where the Hurricanes play, right?
That's,
the Bank
yeah, yes,
Atlantic
yes.
Center.
BB&T.
Let me get to this story quickly, then we'll go to our final thoughts. If you want to get involved in final thoughts today, whatever's on your mind, 844-640-6464. Grab Chelsea. Let's see what she has to say. She's walking outside right now.
Lingell just dropped like 4 bombs.
Get her in here. She just walked by. Maybe she has some final thoughts. Here it is. The NHL has a cocaine problem, according to today's New York Post. Did you know about this?
I have not heard anything about the NHL.
The NHL is taking aim at cocaine use amongst its players. Responding to a potential increased use of the drug, the league is beginning talks with the NHL Players Association to add it to the list of banned substances the league regularly monitors. So it's not a banned substance right now?
Maybe they haven't thought to include it.
I saw a picture of Jaromir Jagr and Bell, like an 18-year-old European chick, about 2 weeks ago in the Post.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
He was definitely wired.
Well,
quote, the number of cocaine positives are more than they were in previous years, and they're going up. I wouldn't say it's a crisis in any sense. What I'd say is drugs like cocaine are cyclical, and you've hit a cycle where it's an in drug again. They love the blow.
I was going to say, wow, I thought cocaine kind of faded out. I didn't know it was so popular.
It's
still.
back. Oh my God, is it back? Everybody's got a little baggie with them in every club and every bar. Let me guess, she's got a promotions meeting.
No, there is an emergency meeting. I told you that at 10 a.m. and that's where they're all going right now. No, I'm serious. I'm dead serious. I told you guys that earlier today.
The emergency meeting is to help get money to South Carolina. Let Lindsey Graham and Nikki Haley get money to South Carolina. It's one thing when Haiti goes under and it's an underprivileged, poor country, but when it's another state in the United States, I mean, Christ.
She would rather be in here with us, is basically what she told me. Right. But she's got to go to the meeting.
No, I mean, this is basically. I mean, I don't even want to go there, but you know where I was going, don't you? We'll start today's final thoughts with Mad Mike. Go ahead, Mike. You're leading off today. Congratulations.
That's unbelievable. I'm leading off, just like Brett Gardner isn't today.
Right. Well, that's what Feinstein said. We don't know that, but as a Yankee fan, you agree?
Today.
Oh, they do have it. Okay.
That's what they had.
Yeah.
Sid, just give me a couple of seconds on this. You know what is? I hear Liz Mandel every week. I don't get this big fixation you got with her. It's like you want to be down in a bread box eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something, you know? Dude, let me tell you something, man. She talks about the other week how her boyfriend gave her anal, this and that. The hug can is so tight you couldn't get a greased BB gun out of there, dude. And I'm gonna give you one last idea for a podcast. This would be great. Yourself being the moderator, her with another one of your Jeans, Andrew Dice Clay.
Love it. God, I love
How great
that.
would that be?
It's going to happen, Mike. It's going to happen, okay?
I'll bring the gefilte fish.
Okay, very good. That is Mad Mike. Thank you. Phone lines are all lit up, which is pretty cool. 844-640-6464. We'll get back to the phone. Scott, Stan, Jerry, Dale, all of you. Let's go to one of the members of the cast, though. Steve Zemek, your final thoughts for today.
All right, nothing depressing today. Going to go baseball.
Baseball. End
of the MLB postseason, which is long but very enjoyable. And here we go, getting ready. I know it's the one-game playoff. We'd all prefer maybe a 3-game series or something like that. But baseball playoffs is just it's a completely different level. I guess it's like the NHL. It just goes up like 20 notches. Crowd's crazy. A couple years ago, was it Johnny Cueto couldn't even hang out to the baseball? He was so nervous.
Oh, that was the Reds against the
Pittsburgh.
Pirates.
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Now he's on Kansas City,
shaking.
of course. Yeah.
Just enjoy the MLB playoffs. They don't last long, and I know the season's long, and a lot of people complain there's too many games, but the reason there's so many games is because the regular season actually means something. It means something like college football. So there's only 5 teams in each league. After tonight, we'll be down to 10 total. After tonight, there'll be 9. Just enjoy the baseball season, because I know I am, or postseason, because I will.
You brought up college football in a good light. Why was that? College football is dreadful.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if you lose in college football, you're in the regular season. Chances are you're not going to make it.
Not if you lose in September. Just don't lose in December.
That's all right. That's fair.
Right.
But the when the regular season means so much, like it does in baseball,
right?
Because I always hear people complain. I get in this argument a lot with people. Oh, 162 games is way too much. Yeah, but it means something when you win the division. That's why they celebrate the way they do.
Gotcha.
People were coming in. Oh, the Mets! Look at them celebrating. They won the division. Yeah, it's 162 games, a long season.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough to do.
Thank you. Yeah, I heard Joe Ranieri talking up college football yesterday, how great it is and magnificent and majestic. I'm like, oh, be quiet. I mean, if my kid goes to Florida, it's great. They're playing great. They beat Ole Miss and they beat Tennessee in improbable fashion, and it's fantastic. My kid goes to Alabama like Karen Curtis or Emily Sim. That's great. Big win over Ole Miss. They beat them 38-10. No, they beat Georgia this weekend, excuse me. But I got to tell you, my kids are in grade school. I have no real rooting interest. I went to Miami for one semester. That was a long time ago, and they were good. That was the year after Bernie Kosar beat Nebraska. So I don't get caught up. My sister went to Michigan. I went to those games. I saw Harbaugh and Gerbach play in college. I went to 100,000 strong against Iowa with Chuck Long and Ohio State. I've been there, done it. It's great. It's fun. I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me. The playoff system is stupid. It's only 4 teams. 9 times out of 10, a team that should be there is not going to get there. We've seen undefeated teams not win championships before. It's just, again, if I go to that school or my kid goes to that school, it's great, but you're not getting me interested in Penn State Akron on a Saturday. For that matter, Florida, Tennessee, I don't care.
Is there any other sport where the regular season means so much? I mean, I guess football to a degree, I guess. But, I mean, no, not even, because you can make the playoffs at 9-7.
7-9.
Yeah,
Seattle Seahawks won the NFC West a couple of years ago at 7-9.
And that actually catapulted they beat was it the Saints?
Baseball, yes, they did.
That catapulted their Super Bowl
Lynch
run.
Had a big run.
Yeah, that catapulted their Super Bowl run.
No,
You're
they lost the week after that.
Right, but but the next season.
The next season, they had Russell Wilson, a quarterback.
That
they did not have him the year before. Right?
True.
But baseball is certainly the most meaningful and best regular season. There's no question about it. Let's go to Dale. Dale, your final thoughts.
Yeah, Sid, I didn't think it was possible for anyone to be more angry at the leadership of this country than myself. Angry at certain ethnicities or certain genres or groups than myself. And I have found that Lauren Jacobs is a breath of fresh air, and I want to be her best friend, and I've never met her personally. I don't have a lot of friends, so I'm just throwing that out there. Lauren Jacobs is a phenomenal person, and the only I honestly wish it was her running instead of Carly.
By the way, she's a hot blonde, too, on top of that, just in case you wanted to know that.
I'm happily married, and but no, I mean for Z-Mac, if you ever give up the guys,
Dale's always got to take a shot at me on the way out.
Z-Mac's got a very cute girlfriend, but Lauren is great. Lauren is very active on my Facebook page.
I've taken notice of her since her phone call. She's good. She really is.
Good. I mean, she's good. If you're a conservative, you love her. If you're a liberal, you think she's a whore. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, what they say about Tamara Holder and Liz Mandel, they say about Lauren if you're a liberal. Me, I think she's great. She's very, very smart. You see, when somebody is smart, you may disagree with where she stands politically because she is a real conservative. I mean, she's Rush. She's all the way to the right. The Constitution is perfect. Nothing needs amending. That's it. She is all the way to the right. But you can certainly appreciate how smart she is, whether you agree on or disagree. And she's been a great addition to my Facebook page. And in fact, she wrote a blog, the first one. Lauren Linares has written one since. But Lauren Jacobs wrote a great blog that we posted to sidrosenberg.net yesterday, which discussed every major non-sports topic we discussed last week, and I would hope she does that on a weekly basis. She is great. Let's go to Jerry. Jerry, your final thoughts.
I said,
no good. Your phone is horrible. Please call back, Jerry, from Brooklyn, because we love you. Let's go to Stan. Stan, your final thoughts.
Hey, Stan. Hey, Sid.
Yeah.
I think the final thoughts is a great idea. It's also at a time when I'm free to call.
Good.
so here's a very relevant for diehard Dolphins fans trivia question.
All right.
Any sport, who is the last interim manager to take their team to the playoffs? Any sport, and if you know the year, that's even better. I don't think you'll know either one.
I don't. I mean, I know Jack McKean did it, won a World Series for the Marlins back in 2003, but I would imagine there's been one since, not even locally. I don't know.
No. He wasn't a full interim.
How about Bruce Arians for the Colts?
Much further back. Want the answer?
No, give me a hint. What team was it?
They're a team who's in the playoffs. That city. This is football.
They were in the playoffs. It's a football city, and a coach took over midway through the season and took them around the fourth game, third game. And he took them right through the playoffs.
Right to the playoffs. Someone you, unless you were really following this.
What year, Stan? What year?
Okay, the year is, believe it or not, 1961.
Oh my God, you're going all the way back. I'm going to go with.
Ready?
No, I'm still not ready. 1961, this guy took over. This is the AFL or the NFL?
I'm going to help you. He took over the Houston Oilers.
I'm going to go with, I don't know.
Ready?
Yeah.
Wally Lim.
That's a tough one. That is a very tough one. Thank you, Stan. The answer, by the way, then is the AFL. I asked you if it was the AFL or the NFL. The Houston Oilers, of course, were the AFL with the great George Blanda, I believe, played quarterback there for a while.
Wait, interim?
Well, that was after the Raiders.
He said interim? Why? Because McKeon was not interim? He was named the actual manager? Is that what?
No, he was not. He was interim. He took over midway through the season for the guy the Mets fired, Jeff Torborg. So he's wrong. Jack McKeon took over.
Yeah. That's
30. In fact, I'll tell you something funny. Who's the manager of the Marlins now? That Dan Jennings. I believe Dan Jennings replaced Mike Redmond this year, the same exact amount of games that Jack McKeon replaced Jeff Torborg in 2003 when the Marlins went on to beat the Yankees and win the World Series. Same amount of games.
Wow.
It was like 35, 36 games.
Right.
And McKeon won it all, and the Marlins lost every game with Jennings. But D. Gordon did win the NL batting title, something we did not discuss yesterday, in a really lousy loss season. Congratulations to D. Gordon, who the Marlins got in a trade with the Dodgers before the start of the year. He won the batting title, and Ichiro Suzuki pitched.
That's right.
In the final game, which nobody saw, except Randy Slater and Desi Sandan.
D. Gordon, the second lowest on base percentage in winning a batting title.
To win a batting title
Isn't
ever.
that crazy?
Yeah, he never walks.
Yeah, he never.
But he gets hits up the ass.
Yep.
Him and Altuve, who the Yankees will get a very good look at.
Oh, that guy is unreal.
Tonight.
That guy's unreal, man. He's like 5'1". He's unbelievable.
Right. Dr. Katz, Ronnie just sent me a thing about Tannehill in the practice squad. All right, Langell, it is your time. Anybody else who wants to call in, about 7 more minutes before I'm going to sign off here today. 844-640-6464. Your chance at final thoughts. 844-640-6464. And now the Mensa. That is Eric Langell.
Well, I'm not really prepared. I've been trying to think today, and
what do you mean
I
not
just
prepared?
can't think.
It's the same time every single day.
I know, but I'm busy doing other things. I'm very.
Well, why can't you think about it on the way in at 4:30 in the morning?
Well,
so you don't have to worry about thinking about it at 10 o'clock.
I'll forget by 10:30.
Well, of course you will.
It's tough to think.
Right.
I'm thinking. I'm gonna say I'm looking forward to tonight's Yankee game.
I mean, this is ridiculous.
That's an original thought.
You're not even going to watch it. You're going to go to Publix. You're going to go to Lowe's. You're going to go to Home Depot. You're going to massage Alicia's feet. You got to walk the dog Fluffy. You got to meet your pot dealer in Boca.
How dare
You're going to the gym. You're not going to watch the damn game.
I'm going to watch the game. I love playoff baseball.
How many innings will you watch?
How many innings?
Yeah.
I'm going to say at least 7.
You're high. You're nuts.
I'm going to tune in. I'm looking for A-Rod to have a big game. He's going to continue his hero status this season in the playoffs.
He's been dead the last couple of weeks.
Well, he's saving it for this postseason.
So
look out tonight.
you're predicting a Yankee win tonight.
Yes.
And A-Rod is the hero.
And he's 3 home runs? Wow. 3
you
home runs.
3 home runs?
I didn't say that.
Oh, I was going to say, because that would have required you to play the very famous John Amos quote to Eddie Murphy in the great movie Coming to America.
I'm saying at least 3 RBIs.
Kick the oblong football through the through the goalpost. And if in fact you even intimated that A-Rod was going to hit 3 home runs tonight, it would require you. This would be mandatory, like this meeting going on right now to help out South Carolina. It would require you to play this quote.
Mr. McDowell.
What is it?
Sir, I was wondering, did you happen to catch the professional football contest on television last night?
No, I didn't.
Oh, it was most exhilarating. The Giants of New York took on the Packers of Green Bay. And in the end, the Giants triumphed by kicking an oblong ball made of pigskin to a big H. It was a most ripping victory.
Son, I'm just going to tell you this one time.
Yes, sir.
You want to keep working here. Stay off the drugs.
Jerry, what's going on, pal? How are you?
Sid.
Yes.
Okay. I was wondering, I think we were cut off. I just wanted to tell you also that I was up in Massachusetts for 3 months and doing cantorial work up there. And when I heard about Harvey, I've been saying Bishop Barrock for him.
Thank you. Thank you.
Every chance I can. One other point, Sid. I attended that series in '86 with the Mets and Houston.
Yep.
When did, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. When did Houston switch to the American League? I really never
2 years ago.
That.
No, that's like 2-3 years ago. That's it. They
Very recent.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words, Jerry. We love you about my dad. They were in the NL West forever. That was a great series, man. I'm sorry. That is still the best LCS ever, Mets Astros. And again, to reiterate, thank you for that. That's very good. Hitting buttons. The guy that was on the Astros staff that year, and ironically, he came up in the Met organization. He was just average at best. And he developed, was it the split-fingered? I forget what pitch it was. It was unhittable. And this guy went from a mediocre, average, nobody with the Mets to the most dominant pitcher in baseball. And that particular year for the Astros, he was about as good as any pitcher I've ever seen in any year. And he was going to pitch Game 7 for Houston. So if the Mets did not win Game 6, they were not going to beat this guy in Game 7. And you never would have gotten the Met-Red Sox World Series and Mookie Wilson and Bill Buckner and all of that. And the Mets fell behind in the 16th inning of Game 6. I want to say Billy Hatcher hit a home run for the Astros. And then it was Straw, right, with a 3-run home run to win the game in the bottom of the 16th. Mike Scott was the pitcher for the Astros, and he was completely unhittable. You couldn't touch him. I mean, he was unhittable. He was every bit as good, if not better, than Hershiser was in '88 for the Dodgers. And that's what the Mets were going to face in Game 7. They had a pretty good stamp back then, Nolan Ryan and those guys, but I was wrong. J.R. Richard was gone by then, but the Mets were not going to beat Mike Scott in Game 7. They had to win that Game 6, and they did, and that, of course, set up that epic World Series against the Red Sox.
And you are one of the only people that continues to bring that up, and it should be brought up because that was, like you said, top of the 16th. They score. Strawberry comes at the bottom of the 16th to give the Mets, and nobody talks about that. And even Doggy brought it up on High Heat not too long ago, and no mention of the NLCS at all.
Oh, what a great series. Oh, God.
I mean, because the Bill Buckner, none of that stuff even happens.
I was at the Billy Joel concert. I told you the story many times at Madison Square Garden. He did not come out on stage until the end of that game.
Unreal. That's
so
awesome.
We're
That's
all standing
awesome,
outside the Garden watching the Met-Astros game. Charlie O's is a bar across the street from the Garden, back then at least. Now you got Stout, other popular places. But back then, we're all standing outside Charlie O's right there by the Garden watching the Mets and Astros. And the Mets get this win, and they let us out of the Garden. They let us out. They're like, Billy's not coming on stage till the game is over.
Wow.
They let us all back in, and the lights are dark, and the next thing you know, New York State of Mind. And who's sitting at the piano playing it wearing a Met hat? Billy Joel.
That is awesome.
Oh, bro, that's
a lifelong memory. Oh, man.
It's great.
Wow.
That concert was
Wow.
great, and we're going to the World Series. And then I remember it was Game 6, too, of the World Series, when it looked like it was going to be over with that improbable comeback with the Mookie Wilson ground ball. I was visiting my good friend Richie Schiffman at Rutgers University. I was about to go out Saturday night, and he was a member of a fraternity in Piscataway, New Jersey, the lovely Piscataway, New Jersey. And maybe it was not there. Maybe it was a New Brunswick campus. I forget. But we're going out that Saturday night. It was pouring rain, and we're all really downtrodden and upset. We're all Met fans. And we're getting ready to leave the house, and Mets are about to lose the World Series in Game 6. And next thing you know, base hit. Wait a second. We're like, we literally stopped at the door. We were walking out, ready to watch the third out, and we were going to drink a lot no matter what, because we were either going to drink because we were depressed or drink because we were happy. We all sat right back down in Richie's living room on campus. And you want to talk about a college campus going nuts? Rutgers in Jersey after the Mets came back to win that game? Holy Christ. I remember doing funnel shots at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm yelling and screaming, rain night and God.
And just to tie in what we talked to
by the way, the Mets were, that was Saturday. Monday, the Mets had to play a Game 7. That same night, the Giants were playing the Redskins on Monday Night Football. So I'm living in Brooklyn at the time, my parents' house. I had a black and white TV watching the Giants and Redskins, and I had my regular color TV watching the Mets. Giants killed the Redskins that night. Joe Morris had a great game, like 200 yards on the ground. And don't forget, that Giant team went on to win the Super Bowl. That was
right,
the team.
Bill Parcells first.
That's right. They beat John Elway and the Broncos in Pasadena. Bill Sims' great year. So right after the Mets won, the Giants won. But the Mets, people forget this too, they fell behind 3-0. Game 7 to the Red Sox at Shea Stadium. Wow. And Lee Mazzilli had a big pinch hit and they ended up winning that game, but they were down 3-0 in that game.
Wow.
Unbelievable
and
memories.
Bill Buckner holds the record for the batting title with the lowest on-base percentage. I believe it was a couple years prior to the
Buckner
86.
Was a great hitter. But Cubs and Red Sox, and never should have been in the game at that point when Mookie hit that ground ball. Unfortunately, he was a great player. Great player. He's remembered for that one play.
And he probably doesn't make it to the bag anyway. With his hobbling leg. He was hobbling around, so even if he gets a bag,
I don't know why
he
was in the game. Here's Gabe with his final thoughts. Hello, Gabe.
Hello, Sid. I was wondering, is there any way we can get Chris West back since, Langell has never been diagnosed for mental retardation. He can't help himself to push the buttons. And Langell, Stephanie still hates you. Have a great day, guys.
How do you feel about that?
Well, at least there's one thing that's made me feel good about the day. Good.
That makes you feel good?
Yeah. It's good to know I left an effect on her.
Hey, Lauren Jacobs says she missed Liz this morning. She was running late. Then I tuned out a half hour before you were done due to work. I heard she missed some great stuff. You can get that. Liz is archived, right?
Absolutely. 640sports.com, the tab, podcasts, and Sid Rosenberg. Right
Okay.
there. Bang.
Well, the show's over for today. It was a great one. Liz Mandel was on today, as well as boy, what a great guest list today. We had Liz Mandel. We had John Montone, 1010 Wins. Tom Verducci, CNN, SI, MLB Network, and Fox. Mark Caputo from Politico. You got to read his local stuff. Florida Playbook. Andrew Abramson, Palm Beach Post, on the Philbin firing and the Dan Campbell hiring. Mark Feinsand, New York Daily News, on this big Yankee-Astro game tonight and the CC Sabathia story. And then, of course, you guys. You, Steve, you, Eric, you, Ricky, and the countless people that called in to really make this show great. So, we want to thank each and every one of you. Yes. So that's it. Big game tonight, Yankees and Astros. The winner will start their best of 5 in Kansas City Thursday night against the Royals. God willing, we'll talk about that and more at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. So from all of us to all of you, have yourselves a blessed Tuesday. Peace.
But then again, too few to mention